Champagne is undoubtedly the most prestigious and expensive sparkling wine in the world, but what makes it so special? There are only three factors that differentiate champagne from any other sparkling wine in the world, and today we'll know the real reason why champagne is so special. The most important thing to know is that sparkling wine was not invented in Champagne. There is an old rumor that says that a monk, Dom Perignon, invented the whole champenoise method, but in fact, it is not true. Sparkling wine was invented in the south of France, not far from Carcassonne, by some Benedictine monks whose names we don't know now. And the sparkling wine is not originally from Champagne, it is from the south of France. But why sparkling wines from the south of France now cost around $10 per bottle and champagne may cost up to several $1,000s per bottle? The first out of three reasons for that is the climate. The climate in Champagne is cool continental, meaning that it's not very suitable for cultivating grape, actually. The majority of the grapes wouldn't be able to accumulate enough sugars and ripen enough in the rather cold climate of Champagne. Champagne is not far from Paris, so the weather there is more or less like in Paris. And in Paris there can be frosts in winter, there can be cool autumns, so it's not like in Italy or in Spain, it's a rather cold climate there. These conditions would make it almost impossible to make any decent still wine, but for sparkling wines, it is the perfect climate. To make a great sparkling wine, we just need two things basically: high acidity and low alcohol. Champagne ticks both of these cases easily because of the cool climate. When it is cold, the grapes don't accumulate a lot of sugar because to create sugar in grapes, a lot of sun is needed. Low sugar means low alcohol, and alcohol about 10.5–11% ABV is the sweet spot for the base wine, because second fermentation adds about 1%–1.5% ABV to the sparkling wine. And finally, we get around 12.5% ABV, which makes a sparkling wine just perfect. Not too heavy with alcohol, refreshing, it is basically everything a celebration wine should have. Low alcohol in base wine is very important to make a well-balanced sparkling wine, because otherwise we'll get like 14% ABV after the second fermentation in the final wine, which doesn't sound a lot like a sparkling wine. Sparkling wine should always be light and refreshing, and 14% with bubbles sound more like an evening killer than like fun. Agree? So yeah, in warmer regions they have to pick the grapes earlier so they don't accumulate too much sugar. It results in insufficient ripeness, and as a consequence the wine lacks complexity. In Champagne they don't have this problem because of the cool climate, and it is one of the cases when cooler place is better for the grapes. And then we need right acidity in sparkling wine, because without it, it may not seem so bright and probably even a bit dull. You can just make a simple test and compare any sparkling wine from some hot region with some champagne. The difference will be huge. I mean, no offense to sparkling wines from warmer regions, it's just a different style of wine, but so happened that people from all over the world enjoy the acidity and brightness of champagne. And that is why it is probably the most popular sparkling wine in the world. And okay, the first factor is the ideal combination of sugar and acidity in wine. Some people would also add chalk soils of champagne, which are quite unique. And the second thing is the traditions. They have been making sparkling wines in Champagne since the 16th century, and the blending has become a form of art since then. Vintage champagnes are great, but for me the most characteristic wine of any champagne house is the basic line. For Moët Chandon it is Moët Impérial, for Veuve Clicquot it is Yellow Label, and these are the real markers of the quality of champagne. The reason is that a true champagne is a blend of a lot of different base wines together meant to produce a product of very consistent quality. Moët Impérial is always Moët Impérial, right? It is what it is now, it will stay the same in 20 years. Obviously not the same bottle will stay the same, but you got the idea. The taste won't change, but every year the weather in Champagne is different. Winter comes earlier or later. Each year there is a different amount of rain, so the grapes as a natural product have different properties each year. They have different sugars, different ripeness because it's natural. They just cannot be exactly the same each year. It is not possible. And the work of a champagne maker is to blend the wine in such a way that the Moët Impérial in your glass would always stay Moët Impérial, or any other champagne that you prefer, like Krug, Bollinger or whatever. No judgments about the taste. I personally enjoy Moët Imperial, although it has a reputation of a supermarket champagne, but I think that the fact that it is sold in a supermarket doesn't make this wine any worse. Also, I enjoy this Adam Jager champagne here. It's not a very well-known producer, still not very small, and it's a great value for like 25 euros per bottle. Anyway, blending is what makes champagne champagne, actually. With all respect to all of the other regions of the world where they produce sparkling wines, there is no such rich blending traditions as in Champagne. And the third thing which makes Champagne so special is the legislative regulations, just because they are more strict than in any other sparkling wine producing regions. Like, the basic maturation time for Champagne is 15 months, of which 12 should be on the lees, meaning the contact with the dead bodies of the yeast which fall down after the fermentation. It adds complexity to the wine, adds some bread and yeast aromas, which a lot of people find very pleasant in wine. And on the other hand, let's take like Crémant de Loire, also a French region famous for its sparkling wines made by traditional method. The first and the second fermentation take place in the same bottle that you will have on your table, which adds value to this wine. But in the Loire Valley, the traditional method sparkling wines spent at least 9 months on the lees, as well as the Spanish cava. So these wines are also great, but they lack a complexity of Champagne. They are just a bit simpler. And again, simple doesn't mean bad or low quality. Simple means that they just have less flavors and aromas, sometimes less intense flavors and aromas, meaning that they just serve for lighter dishes or better enjoyed on its own than with any kind of food pairing. And there is one last, the fourth factor, which probably sometimes plays even a more crucial role in Champagne's success all over the world. It is considered to be the most prestigious wine in the world. You got my idea, right? It is already considered to be so. And people tend to pay more for Champagne because of the brand. You don't pay for Casio, you pay for Rolex, right? Although Casio shows time, not worse. If we compare some well-made Crémant d'Alsace, which has prolonged maturation on the lees, better quality grapes from like Grand Cru vineyards were used, actually it won't be worse on the palate than some regular Champagne. But Crémant d'Alsace is probably a nice alternative for Champagne for wine lovers, wine geeks, but a lot of people just don't bother about discovering these small wine regions, small producers. They just want consistent quality for their special occasion, and they are 100% sure that purchasing a bottle of Champagne will get them the experience they expect from it. That is probably the most important reason why people love and drink Champagne. They know that it's impeccable and it delivers on the status. Write down in the comment what do you think of Champagne, do you like it or prefer sparkling wines from other regions? Check my free newsletter and wine appreciation course in the description down below, and see you in the next video. Bye!